Hey, do you remember that one time Paramount spent millions of dollars changing the design of movie Sonic because no one liked it? Yeah, I think that was the greatest example of yes, bullying does work. It seems Sonic 2 turned out a lot better than the first one. I mean, just look how it did at the box office. And with this newfound success, people consider it the new golden standard for video game movies. Which is obviously great, but people seem to forget about the first good video game movie, Detective Pikachu, which was the first movie to break this so-called curse. So now we have two sort of good video game movies while the rest are there as well. So now here's the big question. Out of these two movies, who was hotter, Jim Carrey or Ryan Reynolds? Which one was better? So this is The Glass Half Full, and I'm gonna end the debate once and for all. Which video game movie is better? In the most hopefully not biased way possible. Alright, let's talk about furries. A virgin talks about kids' movies. It's not weird. So we got the two main driving points of these movies. The biggest reason why you spent $15 for a ticket, and like 20 more for popcorn. Who is better? A blue rodent or Ryan Reynolds? Well, honestly, they play very different roles in their movies. While Sonic mostly resembles his character from the games, arrogant and cocky, but also kind-hearted and brave to those who are close to him. But yeah, he was mostly a dick. Honestly, I was very put off by his character from the very beginning of the movie. As Sonic casually destroys a city and gets multiple people almost killed. Like, yeah, it was played for jokes and oh, he was trying to be a hero. But yeah, no, he hurt multiple people and just ran away like it was nothing. Thankfully, he does redeem himself as the movie goes on, as he takes on a big brother or older friend kind of role when he meets Tails. And he learns that even though he's one of the strongest things in the universe, he has to be smart with it, since a lot of the time his powers can be used for harm more than good. This is definitely not the most unique way of character development, but it's appreciated nonetheless. I'm happy to see how far he's come from literal abomination to cocky and arrogant to kind of bearable. It is also heavily reinforced that Sonic in this movie is still just a kid, but he's gone through so much. So it's not hard to see how far he's come since that first movie. And regarding Pikachu, the thing is, he isn't the main focal point of the movie like Sonic is. Instead of a magical being from another universe, he really is just an equivalent to a cat that can talk, but to only one person. But I actually really like that he isn't the main focus of the movie, and he just helps Tim adjust to Pokemon like he used to before and talk about his daddy issues. And just deliver some great one-liners and some actually really great emotional beats during the movie. His chemistry with Tim was also just second to none. And it was also just fun listening to them talk and go with the story together. He doesn't really have a character-specific arc or moment to like light into the movie, but I'm glad we got something and not just a cute sidekick. So who do I think is better? Well, even though Sonic went through some good progression through the story, I'm gonna go with Pikachu. Even though Sonic is a main character, I just like the idea and execution of Pikachu being a sidekick and the whole century mystery around who he is and why can he talk. Which could have just not been explained and no one would have cared, but it was, and the payoff of him being Tim's dad just makes so much sense and makes him so much more cooler than I would have ever imagined. Oh yeah, spoilers if you haven't watched this movie from 3 years ago, but you still decided to watch this video. Yeah, point goes to Pikachu. So aside from Pikachu and Sonic, we have other anthropomorphic, kind of, but not really talking animals that make up the rest of the cast. Granted, Pokemon has a lot more furry friends in the movie compared to Sonic, but they don't really have any character compared to Knuckles and Tails. Both are really good adaptations of how they act in the games, with Pokemon just being Pokemon, but Knuckles and Tails are actually a lot cooler than they have been in recent outings in the games. Granted, Tails did really annoy me sometimes with this whole, "Oh Sonic, you're so cool," but it wasn't unbearable. As for Knuckles though, it was probably one of my favorite depictions of his character ever. Sonic 2 made it clear that Knuckles was not a dumbass and was just naive and so unaware of the world around him. And that is so much better than just saying, "Oh look, he's a dumb brute, haha, look at that, so funny." So I guess Sonic 2 wins, but it actually doesn't, because once I really think about it, I feel like comparing the two is kinda unfair, since one movie, the furries can talk, and in the other, they don't do that. So to make this section fair, I'm gonna compare everyone's favorite parts of both movies, the human characters. Woo! Look, as much as we don't want to admit it, these human characters play such a major role in these movies. They're the ones that are interacting with our furry friends and helping to move the plot along. Okay, as much as I unironically love some of the human characters from Sonic 2, I'm definitely gonna go with the latter, mostly because of Tim. His character arc is just pretty compelling, and watching him go from being too scared to catch a Cubone at the start of the movie to fighting one of the gods of Pokemon by the end deserves some props. And then there's also him finding his love for Pokemon because of Pikachu, coming to terms with his dad, and learning the truth about Rhyme City just makes him so much more cooler than, oh, it's your average dude bro who happened to meet the cute Mascot character, wow. Just like how James ended up. Because James, God, he didn't do a whole lot in this movie. Which is good because I don't want the movie to be all about the human characters. But he kind of just pales in comparison. So while I like the human characters in Sonic 2, they don't really push the narrative. While Detective Pikachu, the movie does not work without them. And so by a very, very, very tiny margin, I'm gonna give this point to Detective Pikachu. Eggman! The answer's Eggman. There's no debate whatsoever. This man, no, this god is 99% the reason this movie is good in the first place. It's like every time he's on screen, you don't know what he's gonna say or do. And in most cases, that should be a bad thing, but he just makes it work. At one point in the movie, he's showing off all these crazy inventions. And in the next scene, he's showing Knuckles that he should floss. And I'm in the theater thinking to myself, yeah, this makes sense. I think the biggest reason why his whole character works is because every little thing he does is just so entertaining. He just adds so much expression and movement to anything and everything he does to the point where I don't think the directors are telling him to do any of this. Like, you could tell me that Jim Carrey wasn't even given a script and just said, do your thing, bro, and I'd wholeheartedly believe you. In many ways, I think this portrayal of Eggman is by far one of the greatest adaptations of a video game character, no, hell, a fictional character I've ever seen, in my opinion. Which is correct. To perfectly adapt a character, you should not only do the source material justice, but also add more to it. If you look back at some renditions of Robotnik, sure, he had some funny moments and character quirks, but to never the extent of the movie. But it works so well, since first off, it's a movie about fast animals. Insane shit is expected. And also, with his redesign in the sequel, he looks more cartoony than ever. So again, insane shit is expected. I honestly can't explain the love I have for the villain of this movie. Like, he completely steals the show from me, and not in a, oh, he's so bad, it's good kind of way. No, it's genuinely how good of a character he is in this movie. God, I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but in a very strange way, I compare Jim Carrey's performance of Dr. Eggman to, bear with me here, Heath Ledger's performance of the Joker. Hear me out, okay? There are two iconic villains that have been adapted from source material where they hold a lot of resemblance to the original idea, but add more life to the character than ever before, and they completely take the stage from the protagonist for the runtime of the movie. Look, I can make an hour-long video about Eggman if I want to, but holy shit, I forgot to mention the other villain. The villains do a serviceable job filling in the antagonist role, and the subversion of expectations was a nice touch as well. Oh, you know, remember when Mewtwo was a villain? But it was actually Suit-Guy who was the villain? But no, it was actually Suit-Guy's father, Suitor Guy, who was the villain. And their names were... Yeah, I watched this movie like 3 days ago and I don't remember their names at all. And then they do some really evil stuff in the climax and that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about them. Look, it was serviceable for a kid's movie, but was never going to compare to Dr. Eggman. Point definitely goes to Sonic 2. What's a good movie without a high-stakes climax? It can make a boring film all the more worth it. Endgame. I'm only half joking. And I think both of these movies have a pretty great one. Sonic 2 definitely tried to imitate what a final boss from a Sonic game would be like. You know, a super huge robot bro to defeat using a Super Saiyan furry. But it's really a sight to see since it's all adapted from a video game and it doesn't suck. The huge robot did its job, and Eggman actually felt kind of intimidating while still maintaining his wackiness the audience expected to see from him. And the supporting cast had a part to play, whether it was helping to destroy the robot or die. It was just nice to see them not be sidelined for Sonic to do his thing. Super Saiyan Sonic was also pretty cool to see as well. And I'm just realizing that it's pretty hard to find anything substantial to say about this ending other than it was cool and I liked it, and if me, a young adult, liked it, then I bet kids did as well. Oh wow, almost like this movie was made for kids and not to be thoroughly analyzed on the internet, huh? The only real problem I had was the setting of the final battle. Like, why specifically does a fate of the world take place in some town with like 100 people in it like the first movie? Just do something different, because doing the same thing as the first movie just felt kind of bland and boring, honestly. Which Detective Pikachu does perfectly. Sure, huge skyscraper battle in the sky is overdone, but whatever, it's always a classic and cool in my book. One thing I love about this ending is that it's not about pure power and force and more about strategy, since Tim and Pikachu knew that they weren't powerful enough to beat Mewtwo. And yeah, that makes sense because this is a detective film and all. I gotta say though, I still don't understand the evil master plan of Suit Dude. Like, you want to combine Pokemon and humans, but then why would anyone ever trust you after that? And there's also logistic reasons and capability. Okay, whatever. Seeing Pikachu use Volt Tackle against Mewtwo made me very happy. Seeing the Ditto reveal is also pretty cool. And seeing them defeat the big bad by taking off the helmet, while not particularly epic, was very in line with this movie. So looking at them side by side with their huge pros and cons, I'm gonna go with Sonic 2, honestly. Yes, the Mewtwo battle had its moments, but Sonic 2 having a very good and faithful adaptation to basically every Sonic game ending just sways me a bit more than Pikachu's tactical final battle. And also, what a stupid fucking plan. Now, I feel like the story is the most overshadowed and underappreciated part of both films. So for Detective Pikachu, the movie is based off the game and hold many similarities. Like the whole basis of your dad's missing and oh, your Pikachu can talk. And obviously the plot revolves around finding clues, the big mystery, and of course, being a detective. However, I wouldn't say the movie's a direct one-for-one remake of the game, and instead, I would call it a reimagining. The movie goes in-depth early about Rhyme City and how Pokemon are used for everyday life and not just battling. And so just right off the bat, the movie is very engaging and realistic. We obviously all thought at one point in our lives, hey, what if Pokemon are real and what would they do? And the movie, assuming that we wouldn't just wage war on each other, is the answer to those questions. Like Machamps being crossing guards or Loudreds acting as speakers at concerts. They're just great examples of truly immersing you in the world of Pokemon, Rhyme City, and the movie. The story revolving around Pikachu and Tim is also done quite well. Since Tim is new to Rhyme City, he gives a good perspective for the audience since we also haven't been to Rhyme City before. So watching him explore this new place with Pikachu gives a good glance at what it's actually like to live in this world. And I, for one, was pretty intrigued to see what actually happened to Tim's dad. I'm a complete sucker for movies and TV shows that have an underlying mystery, and while this movie doesn't quite hit the mark of others of this genre, I was still entertained by the plot and the whole world revolving around it. Sonic 2, on the other hand, doesn't quite hit that mark. While it's leagues above the first film, which in my opinion is a glorified buddy cop film that can replace Sonic with any run-of-the-mill furry and the movie would largely stay the same, this one actually has features and characters from Sonic games, making it actually feel like a Sonic movie. But I just feel like it's basically outdone by its rival. Since, you know, Sonic 2 just takes place in our world, but now there's a bald scientist and a blue spiky thing. Okay, I'm around the game's called Sonic. And while it does that concept justice, it just doesn't compare to how Pokemon interact with the world and the creativity of it. Granted, I do feel like Sonic 2 does have a chip on its shoulder, since its counterpart was based off a game while Sonic 2 had to be built from the ground up, and there is some cool locations like the Mushroom World or the underwater sea cave where the Chaos Emerald is, but Detective Pikachu is just way more unique. Like, come on, the science lab, the concert, the huge continental Torterra thing scene, like, that is so cool. I also want to mention that Sonic 2 has this whole wedding side plot scene in it, totally derails the pacing, comes out of fucking nowhere, and makes the movie a lot longer than it should be. But it also happens to be one of my favorite parts of the movie. For God, I don't even know how to explain or tell you why. You kind of have to just see it for yourself. Again, Detective Pikachu has it beat, but God, Sonic 2 has a really fun story to say the least. Huh, I guess that decides it. Detective Pikachu beats out Sonic 2 3-2, and that's a definitive answer with no bias or nostalgia to affect the overall score. Yeah, none whatsoever. Okay, sure, maybe my childhood self has some role to play in all this and is why I prefer this movie over its rival, so that is why I brought the real deciding factor. Something so absolute and definitive, they have no choice but to agree with me. The one, the only, my friend Sid. Who has watched both movies. You've watched both movies, right? Okay, cool. And has no bias or nostalgia for either series. Take it away. Sid time!
I think that Detective Pikachu does most of the things implemented in Sonic 2, but does it much better. The movie is very good at bringing the Pokemon into the real modern world scenario. And overall, the story was much more emotionally driven, and it was really easy to become attached to Pikachu. For example, they took the time to properly introduce Rhyme City through the introduction video. And for Pikachu, he has the chance to show his personality, strengths, weaknesses in the Apom chase scene, or the interrogation scene that will make those who don't know Pokemon understand what's going on. While Sonic just kind of hoped that since you were attached to the games, you'd automatically be emotionally invested in them prior to even seeing the movie. This works fine, but ultimately creating the attachment to the character within the movie adds on to the attachment you already had to the game character. This is why I think that video game movies flop so often. Sonic was still able to attach you just from Sonic being somewhat witty. Other game movies tend to do nothing for developing a character, banking on the fact that it's an already loved face. So basically, Detective Pikachu is baller. It's funny and sad and shit.
Good stuff, dude. You can always count on a guy like that. Sid time! So there's a pretty big caveat that I haven't mentioned yet, which is I do think Detective Pikachu is a better film than Sonic 2, but I feel like Sonic 2 might be more fun to watch. So hear me out. Detective Pikachu has an interesting story, emotional beats that hit hard, and a pretty good mystery element that has a surprisingly good payoff, and a better post-credit song. But if I want to watch a movie that can just turn my brain off, don't think about much, and just watch with other friends, I'm probably going to go with Sonic 2. Because it's just a really fun movie that I can laugh with, and also laugh at it. Because despite everything we've just said, it's a great accomplishment that of the 50 or so video game movies that have came out in the past 30 years, 2, or I guess 3, have been decent to pretty good, and I can only hope this will continue on. Well, apparently Uncharted sucked, and the Mario movie looks boring. Okay, at least we always have sequels. God damn, that was a lot to cover. You got any final thoughts, Sid?
I love Detective Pikachu, but you know what I love more? The Glass Half Full. The Glass Half Full is a great YouTube channel. There's so many great videos on there. It's probably the greatest YouTube channel on the entire planet. Can I please see my family?
Yeah, you're good.